Many in our community are getting ready to start school tomorrow. And I don't know about you, but I remember many of my teachers. Do you remember some of them? Yeah. In the third grade, I had Mrs. Chanette. And she was by far my favorite teacher. And it was clear that she loved teaching. But my favorite thing about Mrs. Chanette was the way she greeted us at the beginning of the day. She would stand outside the classroom, and each of us were greeted with a big, huge smile, by name, with a hug. And we were told, "Welcome to school." Now, I'd like to tell you that I was special and I was the only one who got that welcome, but it was not true, because the kid in front of me in line got the exact same welcome, and the kid behind me got the exact same welcome. She was just happy that we were there, and she made me feel special. This last year, I watched my youngest daughter get greeted every morning by Mrs. Farrar in her first grade class. And Mrs. Farrar, right, Selena? She had a deal. She would either, you could pick as a kid, you could wave, you could high five, you could do a handshake, you could hug, you could fist bump, or you could dance party. But each child was warmly welcomed into that first grade class. Now, I would venture to say that both Mrs. Chanette and Mrs. Farrar felt called to be a teacher. I don't know what their spiritual backgrounds were, but they definitely felt called to that job, and they clearly loved it. And now so many of us spend our days doing things that we feel called to. Some of us go to our jobs because they're our jobs, but we do other things that we feel called to. And you just heard Marlene read probably my favorite call story, the call of Jeremiah. And I love the call of Jeremiah because Jeremiah does what I like to do, which is to make an excuse about why I can't possibly do what I feel like God is calling. So be it a career call or a nudge to volunteer, to call somebody, to do anything big or small, God calls us, each of us. And perhaps I'm the only one, but I think that often we make excuses. Excuses about why we can't do whatever it is. Now, your excuse might be Jeremiah's excuse, which is, I'm too young. I can't possibly do it. Your excuse might be, I'm too old, I can't possibly do it. Your excuse might be, I'm too busy, it might be, I'm too scared, it might be, it just isn't gonna work out. But I want you to take a look at your piece of paper the back of your hymn that has something. There's pens in your pews. Take a minute, just 1 minute, not even a minute, to jot down, what are your excuses? Go ahead, write them down. Go ahead. Sorry. You got them? You got your excuses down. Now, what I also love about Jeremiah's call story is that God hears the excuse and offers reassurance. Don't worry, Jeremiah. Don't be afraid. I'll be with you. I'll give you the words you need. Don't worry about it. So imagine you're in a little conversation with God. God has called for you to do something. You've made your excuse. What reassurance might you need to hear? Go ahead, write it down. The beautiful thing about God calling is that God is open to hearing our rebuttal, our excuse. God's ready to listen to it. And if we're open to listening for God, God will offer reassurance about why you actually do have what it takes to do whatever big, huge, or itty-bitty, teeny, tiny thing that God is calling you to do. It's not just the big life calls that matter. It's the little ones that happen all the time, throughout the day, throughout the week. If we're open to it and listening, we'll feel it. We'll notice it. So where is God calling you? Where is God calling you to be part of the miracles that Jane was singing about? Where is God calling you to give of yourself, to do something in our community? Are we ready to say yes? Maybe. Maybe we need to listen a little more for God's reassurance, but it's there. I invite you to respond with me as we consider this. Where God sends us, we must go. What God tells us, we must speak. When God rescues us, we must rejoice. When God calls us, we can lean on God, our rock and refuge, and need never be afraid. Amen.